The signs are everywhere. A dad with earbuds waiting on a Starbucks mobile order, glancing at his bank app between sips. A full cart at Target. Half of it from the dollar section. Half of it paid with pay later. A teenager scrolling Amazon from the passenger seat. No license yet, but 4 different delivery addresses. And somehow, the mall still has a parking problem. Tell anyone you're broke. They'll nod. Then ask if you've seen the Black Friday deals, because no one has enough to spend. But everyone's still spending. It doesn't make sense. That's why it keeps going. We're not watching chaos. We're watching adaptation. Ambient sounds of suburban life. Traffic. Kids shouting in the distance. Wind rustling through dryer vents. Most people never plan to live this way. Not like this. Budgeting on the go. Logging into 5 different buy now, pay later accounts to check what's due next Friday. Hoping the grocery app accepts that one card this time. The one with $12.46 left. Emotional math replaces financial math. You're not asking if you can afford it. You're asking if you'll regret it more if you wait. Every year, homes get smarter. But the decisions, they get harder. There's a couch in somebody's house. Cushions are new. Frames warped. 10-year warranty they couldn't really use. Because the company changed names 6 months after delivery. Reality tucked into corners. The toddler's toy rolled under the dishwasher. No one noticed until it made doing dishes sound like a hardware store. We are living inside illusions. Some of them delivered next day. Some stretched across 24 months. No interest if paid in full. Some wrapped in the promise of a dopamine hit. Disguised as expedited shipping. But behind it all, one truth. This is no longer about just money. It's about what money represents when certainty disappears. A decade ago, uncertainty was a warning sign. A bad quarter. You'd adjust, pause, wait. Uncertainty today? It's just another setting. On low brightness. We still spend. Not because we feel okay, but because paused plans feel worse. So what looks like confidence is often exhaustion finding its rhythm. We've normalized the pressure, like background radiation, seeping into everyday choices. Old rules are gone. Things no longer pause when money's tight. They pivot. Dinner out isn't a luxury. It's a safeguard for one good night. Before a week of leftovers. The Christmas gift isn't excess. It's insurance against guilt. A way of saying you matter in a language flexible enough to hit split in 4. And suddenly, that debt isn't extra. It's structure. A framework to hold on to routine. When income slips and hope blinks on low battery. Most people don't overspend. They overcompensate. For a world that keeps asking them to make peace with decline, but act like nothing's changed. Don't cut back. Cut down. Don't cancel. Compress. Opt out of the premium. Still do the thing. The trips get shorter, but they still happen. The gifts shrink, but they still arrive. Because today's spending isn't selfish. It's emotional survival in disguise. You save your sanity by trading a bit of tomorrow for one more peaceful day. And when budgeting burns too bright, you dim it. Food in, feelings out. You scroll, you add, you click, you exhale. And your brain, it confuses that soft serotonin for security. Only the cost of that peace. It sneaks in later, sometimes as a delayed payment, sometimes as a postponed dream, sometimes as the quiet ache of reduced freedom. You might technically be able to afford it, but the life you're borrowing from, that version isn't invited to the checkout screen. Still, we tap. Because restraint now feels more dangerous than risk. Because trusting the future requires belief. and many stopped believing. Here's what no economic model tells you. When the world feels fragile, the present becomes permanent, and people protect permanence. A 6-year-old doesn't know the rent's late. She only knows you found a way to keep the birthday dinner at Chili's. Again, you didn't splurge. You translated love through appetizers. The price was debt. The return, her smile. This is why the spending puzzle won't solve cleanly. We keep looking for logic, but forgetting the emotions packed in every transaction. And merchants? They learned. Confusion is profit. Emotion is leverage. Offers aren't meant to inform. They're designed to interrupt. Just long enough to nudge you into purchase. They don't sell you the best version of a product. They sell you ideals with a payment plan. Home, comfort, presence. Delivered by 8 p.m. So people don't just buy what's in the cart. They buy fragments of relief for 21.4% APR. And still, we scroll past headlines shouting economic contradiction. Broke, but booked. Stretched, but shopping. And we think, they must be doing better than me. But they're not. They're doing identically. They're stressed. Just not visibly enough to change the algorithm. Every plane seat filled might be debt carried. Each gift, a delay in a dentist visit. Every Target haul, a month off retirement. And when we play judge and jury in the comment sections, we miss the real story. This isn't mass denial. It's quiet grief. Set to music you can shop to. We've normalized the absurd. Because acknowledging it, that would make it real. And maybe too hard to fix. So, we swipe, we try, we cope. And the cycle continues. There's a man in line at the pharmacy, discount card in hand. He smiles at the cashier like he's in control. He isn't. Behind his back, 2 cards are maxed. The third one works. For now. On paper, he's a spender. But beneath the surface, he's a preserver. Preserving the illusion that everything is fine. That medication is just another errand, not a math problem with health on one side and overdraft consequences on the other. Because when you stretch long enough, you don't snap. You bend. You bend into late fees. Bend into deferred payments. Bend into those quiet upgrades that weren't planned, but felt too small to matter. Small enough to ignore, large enough to accumulate. This is what economists miss. Spending isn't always optimism. It's often exhaustion dressed up as functionality. A mom upgrades her phone, not because she needs the latest camera, but because the old one died mid-parent-teacher Zoom call. The new one costs more. But the real cost? Feeling unreliable in front of her child's school. Again, this is what emotional spending looks like. We've dressed it in aesthetics, but really, it's fear prevention. And that fear has layers. Fear of missing out. Fear of seeming unstable. Fear of losing footing in a world with no safety rail. Because once, if you couldn't afford it, you didn't buy it. Now, you finance the dream and hope the due notice doesn't arrive early. Debt used to be a cushion. Now, it's a mattress. We sleep on it. We build homes with it. We raise families around it. Credit isn't backup. It's default. And brands, they skim the surface and tell a different story. They sell convenience. But what they're really offering is delay. Swipe now, split into 4 later. Ignore the tiny text that says, each late fee is $7. Every platform calls it freedom. But let's call it what it really is. A treadmill you can't quite get off. Because the debt? It doesn't arrive loudly. It arrives as a subtle shift in posture. Your budget leans forward, chasing deadlines that feel like finish lines. But they keep moving. You don't feel broke. You feel behind. Not broken, just tired. There's a soft loneliness in that difference. You're paying your bills. But sacrificing, you're not even sure what. Just that vague weight under your decisions. Like the joy was edited out. Like every fun moment has a receipt hiding behind it. Still, you keep it going. You smile at brunch with friends, even though your mental calculator is sprinting. You pretend you didn't see the check engine light because your big client hasn't paid yet, and maybe won't. You pick the mid-range gift bag, not the cheapest, because you don't want it to show, even though your bank knows, your balance knows, and you know. But out loud, you say, it's fine. It usually is, until it's not. That's when coping gets expensive. That's when you realize the tools that kept you afloat also hollowed out your margin. No savings, no slack, no room for error. So when the surprise dental bill comes, you don't pause the spending. You pause something else. Contributions, vacations, peace. You're still functioning. You're still producing. You're just doing it next to the edge. And the scariest part? That edge keeps shifting. Because inflation doesn't just take money, it takes clarity. Prices go up, but slowly, silently, at a pace that never feels shocking. Until you compare it to last year, or last decade, or your old self who used to walk out with twice the groceries for the same cart total. Now, you do the math differently. Not do I want it, but can I absorb this? And often the answer is, I'll try. Because hope is still in there, buried. But so is fatigue. The fatigue of adjusting endlessly. Coupons, promo codes, timing purchases around paycheck dates. It builds in layers. You forget what normal used to feel like. But your body remembers. Every scroll through food delivery feels heavier. You didn't eat out again. You just didn't have the energy to cook. Again. And when life gets faster, options get smaller. Habits form not from convenience, but urgency. The algorithm learns. It offers you quick wins. The iced coffee refill. The skincare drop from TikTok. A 2-minute checkout window for something to feel okay now. This is the dance. A cycle choreographed in real time between emotion, exhaustion, and tech. Maybe your parents taught you to save first, but the world you entered taught you to survive first. So saving happens only after surviving. And by the end of the month, the leftovers aren't money. They're mental bandwidth. Whatever funds remain are spent on reclaiming moments. Movie night. A delivery meal. 2 candles from the self-care section. The essentials redefined. And people call it irresponsible? No, it's adaptive. Because when the future feels uncertain, presence becomes everything. You spend to preserve who you used to be and protect who you're still trying to become. That's why the data feels broken. It's not measuring resilience, it's measuring coping mechanisms that work until they don't. So the question isn't, why are people still spending? It's, what's missing from the story we've been told about money? Because the brands won't tell you. The influencers won't show it. The lenders certainly won't stop it. But here it is. Spending isn't reckless, it's responsive. To stress, to silence, to the whispered truth that waiting for normal might mean missing the now. So we don't wait. We calculate. We stretch. We smile anyway. And we hope tomorrow understands. It was never about affording more. It was always about surrendering less. Less joy. Less meaning. Less of the version of yourself you still hope to recognize in the reflection. Tired, but still whole. Because in this system, standing still looks like progress, and spending becomes how people hold the line. But lines bend, margins thin, and what looked like normal becomes scaffolding, the thin frame of stability, built on borrowed time. So when you're wondering why the mall is packed, why the flights are full, why everyone seems okay when no one feels okay, remember, people aren't spending recklessly. They're spending emotionally, protecting memories, preserving rituals, holding on to meaning in a world that keeps trying to shrink them. That's not weakness, it's humanity. They want one that's smart enough to work. Before you go, hit that subscribe button. We don't just review, we expose. From the hype to the hidden failures, to the tricks brands hope you'll never question. Hit like, tap subscribe, and join thousands of smart shoppers who already know. Smart spending starts with asking smarter questions.